All right, so what's up, you guys? We are back for another episode. Haven't seen you in a long time. This is episode number 31. So we're back, you guys. Welcome to the Upgrade Talk podcast. It's really a podcast about helping you guys upgrade and grow in all aspects of life. Where we mainly touch business, we mainly touch relationships, fitness. If you guys didn't know, I'm a fitness coach, so there's a lot of things that I talk about that are related to fitness. We talk a lot about mindset. So the goal of the podcast is really to help you guys upgrade and elevate in all those different areas of your life. All right. And in today's episode, I really want to talk about something I've been thinking about for a while. I want to talk about how in life, I believe it's really important to understand the framework and the concepts. A lot of times we live with rules. We live with, like, you have to go by the book, but a lot of times it doesn't need to be that way. I understand that for most of the things in life, for a lot of things in life, and not most, but a lot of things in life, you need rules. Let's say if you live in a society, if you want to have an efficient society, a society that can just be can be working properly. If you want to be in a properly working society, you need to implement rules. If you want to have a structure, a business that is productive, and that is healthy, yes, you need rules. But a lot of things in life, you need to understand the framework. The framework, or more about guidelines, to help you, you know, to help you really go towards the goal that you have for yourself, or just to live life in the most efficient way. You need guidelines, you need framework, because a lot of times in rules, you have to go by the book. You can't do this, you have to do that. For a lot of things in life, it's about rules, but a lot of other things, it's not rules, it's framework. Even when we talk about business, we talk about relationships, we talk about fitness, health and fitness. And I'm gonna touch about all these things. I'm gonna touch on a lot of those things in the podcast today, just to make you understand. This is in my opinion, the best way to live your life is to live your life with framework, understanding framework, and not just rules. And you gotta go by the book. And the first aspect that I want to touch about is health and fitness. So, of course, if you guys, again, I mentioned it again, if you guys didn't know, I'm a fitness coach. I've been a fitness coach for the past 8 years, helping people reaching their fitness goals. And one of the main things that I work with my clients is rebuilding their relationship with food, because a lot of times they've developed this unhealthy relationship with food. So we often talk about, oh, they think they never can cheat, they never can enjoy certain food. And every time that they enjoy a certain food that is not in their meal plan or whatnot, they kind of feel this guilt. And you're going to see a lot of time, when you live your life by rules, it's gonna lead to guilt. But if you live your life with framework, it's gonna give you freedom, because in framework you have your preferences, you have your personality that you incorporate to the framework to get to the promised land, if that makes sense, right? So a lot of times, again, when I talk to people that come in and want to get help with me, they think that to be healthy, they never can cheat, they never can go out, they never can have fun, they have to like eat chicken broccoli all the time. So there's a lot of the conversations that I have with my clients is, hey, yes, you can cheat. Cheat. Yes, you can have treats. Yes, you can enjoy food. You can respect your meal plan and still have food that are tasty. It doesn't need to be this blank, depleted of any spice type of food. You know what I'm saying? You can have fun, but you have to understand the framework of how health and fitness work. And this is why I talk a lot about the four pillars. So you have to understand how nutrition work. You have to understand how exercise work. You have to understand what kind of mindset you need to have, and you have to understand what is the lifestyle that you need to adopt if you want to reach your goals. But again, these are frameworks. These are guidelines. Again, you want to lose weight, calorie deficit. But there are a lot of ways to be in calorie deficit. A lot of ways are not healthy, and a lot of ways. In my opinion, and from my experience, if you approach nutrition, health, fitness, and all those things with a strict mindset, it's going to lead to you want to follow a diet, you want to work out 6 7 times a week, every day, and you have no rest day, and you only eat chicken broccoli, and you never have fun, and you never do this, and you never do that, right? And again, this is so restrictive that it's not sustainable. And again, if you think about guidelines, if you think about framework, you want to do something that is sustainable, because, and I'm going to talk about that a lot during this podcast. If you don't understand the framework of how things work, you don't understand why you do what you do. So again, I was talking to someone recently, and the person was, her goal was to lose, I think, 20 pounds, 25 pounds ish. And she was like, yeah, I started doing it by myself, and I'm eating 1,300 calories. And I'm like, whoa, okay. If you know anything about calories, 1,300 is really low. It's a really low amount of calories. It's really rare that you're going to, encounter someone that needs to consume 1,300 calories per day to reach their goals. They have to really be tiny, petite, and even there, once you realize how little 1,300 calorie is, you understand why it's not healthy. But again, that person was in this, she was telling me, yes, I've started doing going to the gym 3-4 times a week. I do CrossFit, I do running, I do all these things. Like she went from not doing anything to now she wants to be like all in, all out. She wants to be in this restrictive mindset, in this, I don't want to cheat. It's only this chicken broccoli, once again, 1,300 calories. And she was telling me, yeah, sometimes I have cravings, but I suppress my cravings with a tea. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, oof. She was doing it because she didn't know better. And I was trying to help her and guide her and telling her, hey, 1,300 calories on a daily is not healthy. It's not a sustainable way to reach your goals. There are ways that are so much more healthier, more sustainable. But if you don't understand the framework of, yes, calorie deficit, but a healthy calorie deficit is around 300 calories, there's a reason for that. Because if not, you're probably not gonna hit your macros, first of all, and then it's gonna make you hungry most of the time. And then if you're going to get to a point where mentally it's going to be too draining for you, and then you're going to start binge eating, and again, that creates a unhealthy relationship with food. And a lot of my clients, I tell them, hey, if you feel like you need to cheat and it's like you just can't help it, hey, having just once, it's not gonna put your results in danger, in jeopardy. But if it's like something that happens every day, well, of course we gotta check it. We have to put you in check, right? But the main goal is, I talk a lot about that, is to, if you can, the main goal is to follow your meal plan and your diet and all that about 80% of the time, and you leave it 20% just to have fun. Again, this is not a rule. It's not a rule. It's a framework. Why? Because it gives you freedom. It gives you, and even when I do the meal plans with my clients, I mainly talk about, yes, I give them, how much they need to eat and everything, but I always tell them, hey, cook it however you want, but I give them framework. Hey, don't put too much oil. Don't eat fried stuff, trying to put that aside as much as possible, except for when it's your cheat meal or whatnot, because if you put a lot of oil in what you eat, the calories go up pretty fast. And that's how my clients, they have amazing results, because I give them the framework. They understand what they need to do in terms of framework, and then they build this this, not discipline, they build this independence. They don't depend on me all the time. They understand, okay, I got to eat about that. Okay, perfect. I can kind of cook the way I like it. That's good. And they still get results. So it makes the process enjoyable and sustainable for the long term. But if they were in this rule book where you can't eat bread, you can't eat rice, you have to put all carbs to the side, and you can't have cheese, and you can't treat yourself here and there, it's not sustainable. And there's a better way to do it. And that's why it's important, when you get into a fitness journey, view it as a framework. View your fitness journey in terms of, I have to follow a certain framework. So I have to be in calorie deficit. So I have to eat food that are rich in nutrients, calorie dense food, and I have to reduce as much as possible the food that are empty in calories and macros. You know, if you follow that, and I have to drink a lot of water and I have to sleep at good hours, if you follow those simple guidelines, this framework, you're going to see results over time. You know, if you stay consistent. Even when we talk about, working out, a lot of people associate working out to just going to the gym. And I always, every time that I have a client that comes to me and that starts the fitness program, I always tell them, hey, you have to find an activity that you like. I don't care if it's dancing, I don't care if it's playing soccer, I don't care if it's whatever. You like swimming, but I want you to find an activity that you like, that you can do 1 to 3 times a week. Why? Because you like it first, okay, but also because it's sustainable. And a lot of these activities, you can do it with other people. You can socialize. A lot of times you go to the gym, and again, I have nothing against the gym. I've been going to the gym for the longest time. I'm a huge fan of the gym. And let's say for someone like me, the gym is more a place where I want to, I put my headphones on, and I want to just be focused. This is like my therapy. I want to be thinking about projects. I want to be thinking about just having time with myself. For some people it's other stuff, right? But it's always having this balance, or this composition where you have strength training and cardiovascular activities, and you kind of mix both. If you can do that about 3 to 5 times a week, again, framework, it doesn't need to be 5, it doesn't need to be 7, it doesn't need to be 4. About 3 to 5 times, that's a framework. Long term, that's what makes it sustainable, if that makes sense. Okay, if we talk about lifestyle, mindset, all these things, you have to think about them in terms of framework and guidelines. Because if you don't and if you only look at the rule, I have to do this, I can't do that, I have to do this, I can't do that, you do things, but you don't understand why you do them. You don't understand why going to the McDonald's, it's not, yes, it's not good. Eating a burger is not good, but you don't know why. You've just been told, hey, it's not good, and you don't understand, because this burger it's empty calories. It's empty calories. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that you can't never, but once you understand what happens when you eat it, or you have a better understanding of what you consume, or when you consume it, what happens, you understand why it's better to eat food that are more rich in nutrients. You get what I'm saying? So this is first of all for fitness. If you want to reach your fitness goals, understand how health and fitness work. Understand what is the framework, which you have to understand, and what you have to apply in terms of nutrition, in terms of fitness, in terms of mindset. Okay, when we talk about get motivation to get you started, but then it's a commitment. It's a commitment long term, and that's why I talk about framework, because it's hard to commit to a rule, but you can commit to a framework, because maybe for me, eating chicken broccoli, it's not hard. I'm a simple guy. I can eat that almost every day. It's not the end of the world. There are some food that I like maybe less, but overall I can eat whatever pretty much of the time, most of the time, and I don't really care. I could eat chicken broccoli rice every day. I wouldn't care like that. But for other people, it's not the same. So that's the reason why I say, if you understand the framework of in calories, approximately how many calories to eat according to your goals, now you can incorporate your preferences. You can incorporate your personality into it. You know what I'm saying? You can cook food how you like if you understand the calorie and micronutrient concept. You know what I'm saying? So first of all, again, health and fitness, understand the framework. Now we can talk about, and this is the best way to approach all aspects of life, not in terms of rule, in terms of framework. We can talk about relationships. You know what I'm saying? When you get into a relationship, you have to always ask yourself, a lot of people get into a relationship, we're looking for what they can gain out of the relationship. But if you are in a relationship, you understand that it's not about what you can gain, it's about what you can give. Being in a relationship is really about giving yourself. It's about thinking less and less about what you can gain out of it, but what you can offer. Because when you have someone on the other side that you truly love, you are going to do a lot of compromises. You are going to compromise a lot. There are a lot of things that I want to do, but I don't do, because I love my wife, and I want to spend more time with her or whatnot. If you approach relationship in terms of I want to gain this out of it and not I want to offer this. If you don't understand the framework, or just like I say, a lot of times you hear about, let's say for guys, a lot of times you hear about, get your girl flowers, but if you just think about, I need to get flowers, and you don't understand why, if you don't understand the concept and the framework around why offering flowers to your girl is something important, well, you just offer flowers, but again, if you understand that that's a part of a love language, which is a gift. Maybe if she likes to get gifts, yes, flowers are a form of gift, but again, it could be other things. But if you only offer flowers, sometimes you do it and you don't understand why you're doing it. But if you understand that it's the gift because you love that person and she appreciates that, well, sometimes you can play with it. It doesn't need to be the biggest thing. Flowers something it's something that doesn't cost too much, right? But again, there are a lot of things that you can get and offer it to your girl, to your partner, that would be just as appreciated as flowers. But you have to understand, like, why we talk a lot about flowers. It's because a it's a it's a love language. It's, if she likes flowers, it's because one of her love language is gifts. And again, if you understand why the gifts, well, you can now go ahead and kind of have some fun. You can sometimes offer, I don't know, a bracelet or whatever. You could go to that's what I try to do now as much as possible, because I understand, like, my wife, she likes, whenever I go out, she likes me to bring back something to her, but if I only think flowers, then if I go to the grocery store, if I go wherever else, and I'm like, oh, I offered her flowers yesterday, I don't need to offer her anything for the next 2 weeks. And if you think about, like, rules, you don't understand. Hey, just the fact that you went to the grocery store and you brought back, I don't know, man, like a juice, and she's gonna be like, oh, that's so nice. You know what I'm saying? These are little things that build up the relationship. So again, you don't think about yourself in terms of, yes, I'm giving the flower, and then I can just wait 2-3 weeks or a month or 2 months for giving other flowers. And you think about, okay, she likes getting gifts and little attentions, because that shows that you care, that shows that you listen, that shows that you care about how that person feels, and you care about how you can kind of ease up her or his journey in this life, which is not hard, but it's always better when you are two people working together toward a common goal, right? But that's what I'm saying. If you only think about the rule of getting flowers, or the rule of doing XYZ, the rule of doing feet massages, you're gonna do it. But it's like, at the end of the day, I kind of repeat myself here, but it's like, at the end of the day, you have to understand why you do what you do. Everything that you do as a partner is to help your partner grow, and that should be reciprocated, something like that. You know what I'm saying? It should go both ways. If you get what I'm saying, this should go both ways. You pour into your partner, and your partner pours into you. And that's how you guys grow together. And if you are only in this rule, I'm doing this, and again, that's one of the things. If you only think about the rule, you're gonna think, oh, I've been doing this for my partner, and they don't do this. You trying to go 50-50 on the attention that you give, but if you are in a relationship, you understand that a lot of times it's not 50-50. There are periods that you're going to go 70-30, and other times it's going to be 30-70. We have different seasons in our life, and again, it's always better to have someone that kind of complements you. Sometimes I give 30, she gives 70. Sometimes I give 70, 80, she gives 30, 20. It all depends. When she's going through a rough batch, well, I'm here to kind of compensate. And sometimes, yeah. And I think the best example for me, I would say, with my wife as of now, is we've started waking up super early and going and work, and we work out at home. And waking up for me is easy. I can wake up at 4:30, right? And I wake up at 4:30, except today. I wake up at 4:30, and then my wife, she's not the type of person to wake up super early. So what I do is I wake up an hour earlier. I go walk the dog. I do breakfast and all that. And at 5:30, which is super early for her, I still go and I wake her up. So I pour into her first thing in the morning, and then she wakes up. She has the breakfast ready and everything. And then sometimes for me, after being awake for an hour or two, I kind of started being sluggish and I started being tired. But now she has a little bit more energy. She ate and everything. Now she's the one motivating me to start working out. So at that time, when it started to work out for me, after being awake for an hour or two, that's where I'm really starting to be tired. That's where I really started to be tired, right? And now she kind of pours into me and kind of motivates me to like, okay, let's go, let's do that workout, But that's again, when I wake up, I give the 70, she's at 30, and then later on during that or morning routine, she gives the 70, I give the 30, And that's kind of the dynamic of a relationship. That's kind of the framework. You don't go into, I want to go 50-50, and if he or she doesn't give her other 50-30 or other 50, I'm just gonna reduce my amount of input. No, the goal is to go to 100. If you need to put 70, sometimes you have to put 70. But if you've made the right decision, sometimes it's going to be 50-50. Sometimes you're going to go at 20. Sometimes you're going to go at 10. And your partner, if you have the right partner and you guys really want to grow together, well, your other partner is going to, fill out the gap and do the 90 that is missing. And sometimes it's going to be the other way around. That's the framework and the dynamic of a relationship. It's not a rule book, because again, if you go into a relationship thinking about 50-50, everything has to be 50-50, well, you kind of miss the point. You just kind of want to do your part, and if your partner doesn't do his or her part, you just kind of, I'm out. But if you understand it as a framework, as a guideline, as a dynamic relationship of people wanting to get to a certain point, to the promised land, and live this experience of life to the fullest, well, you understand that sometimes there are going to be challenges, and the challenges are sometimes I got to give 70, 80, 90% of the effort. And sometimes, man, there are going to be periods of my life that are going to be hard a bit. If I pick the right partner, they're going to fill out the gap, and they're going to give that 70, 80, 90% that is missing, that I'm just not able to give as of now for this season. And it could be for many things. Maybe it's business, maybe it's stress, maybe it's anything, but if you are with the right person, again, they are going to fill up the gap, right? If that's for relationship, I can talk to you about faith. If you believe in God and you understand, and you read your Bible and all that, right? You understand that, like, when you read the Bible, you have to read it in the lens of, okay, it's a guidebook, it's a story of God, redemptive plan with us, to reconcile us to him. But if you only view the Bible in terms of like it's a rule book, I can't do this, I have to do that, I can't do this, I have to do that, well, what kind of relationship does that build with God? You know what I'm saying? You think that God is just like this man in the sky just waiting to punish you for everything, for every bad thing that you do, right? But if you view it as a guideline to live your life, to live a life that blesses God, to live a life that is pleasing to God, well, it's a framework. There are some things that God likes. There are some things that God doesn't like. There are some things that are beneficial, and there are some things that are not beneficial. The Bible talks about you have the freedom to do anything, but not everything is beneficial. So when when we talk about spiritually and you walk this in this life, everything that you do, for me, I guess, the question I ask myself most of the time is like, does this glorify God? And is this what's the word I'm looking for? Is this beneficial? Is this beneficial? Is this helpful? You get what I'm saying? But if you just view it in terms of like, I can't do this, I have to do that. I can't do this, I have to do that. It blocks the growth that you could have. And especially if you walk with God. And it's really important to understand, like, God is not this like man in the sky just waiting to punish you. He really wants the best for you. But there are some, the Bible says, whatever a man sow, he will reap. So if you have to understand, like, if you sow bad things and if you're an awful person, well, it's just set up in a way where people are not going to want to be your friend, do business with you, be in a relationship with you, be around you. And of course, it's not going to lead to the most fulfilling life. You get what I'm saying? But the most important thing that I want you guys to understand is like, if you view your walk with God as your relationship, of course sometimes you're gonna mess up. But if it's like a rule book, and every time that you mess up, God is going to come at you. Well, it doesn't create the intended not effect, but the intended result. Because that's the thing. A lot of times, if you view your relationship with God in this, what's that word I'm looking for? I'm looking for my words a lot today with this. Like, if you view your walk with God as in a little legalistic view, and from a legalistic point of view, it's like it's going to create more anxiousness. Is going to create more. You're going to feel more restricted. You get what I'm saying? And yes, there are some framework. Again, there are some things that God likes, and there are some other things that He doesn't like. And I can give an example from my life. When I first started my walk with Christ, I was listening to all type of music. I was listening to all types of music, and a lot of times, I didn't really care. It was like, it's just music. But as I grew, and the book of Hebrews talks a lot about, like, as Christians, we're called to grow in the knowledge of God, in the knowledge of Christ. And if you know more about God, you know more about what He likes and what He doesn't like, right? So as I grew, I understood that it's not that, like, if I listen to a certain type of music, I'm not a Christian, but it's more about, does this glorify God, and is the message, not even like it has to be Christian music, it has to be a Christian song, but it's more about, like, does the message glorify God, or does the message goes with God or against God, or against God's will? You know, a lot of the music that we hear and that we listen to nowadays talk about, things like, killing people, having inappropriate relationships and inappropriate action with, like, the wrong people outside of marriage, and all this stuff, which are things that influence society, which are things that influence the way we view, because a lot of times what we listen to translate, or we kind of embody a lot of things that we view and listen to. We are affected by those things, right? So if you don't understand that, you don't understand why. I mean, like, you're gonna say, like, well, it's just music. Again, if you view your relationship with God, or your walk in your faith, as a rule book, you're going to tell yourself, like, I can't listen to secular music or certain type of music, but you don't understand why. You don't understand why. There are music that are better to listen to, music that glorify God, music that, at least at the very minimum, don't go against God's will and God's intent. Because I talked about that already, but I remember when I was listening to those songs, I was like throwing gun signs and stuff. I was throwing gun signs and stuff, but I'm not a violent person, and you're gonna see a lot of people like that. You're listening to a certain music, and then you do movements or signs and stuff like that aren't, you wouldn't be proud of yourself. Like, this is not a type of message that you want to convey. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of things for me, that's why I stopped listening to a lot of, like, I didn't stop listening to all secular music, but I stopped listening to a lot of artists, and I stopped listening to a lot of music. Every time there's a music that I know that is not glorifying God, or that goes against God's will and God's intent, well, I'm not gonna listen to it. Just because, again, as I grow and as I grew in my knowledge of God and in my walk, I understand that, okay, so certain things are just not wise. Listening to music that glorify violence, sexual immorality, and those stuff, it's not wise, especially if you call yourself a follower of Christ. It's not a wise thing to do. It doesn't mean you're not a Christian, or it doesn't mean that you're not a follower of Christ. It just means that it is not beneficial. It is not wise. And you want to walk in wisdom. You want to grow in wisdom, in the knowledge of God. That's what the Bible talks about. If you want to, the way that you handle your finances, there's a way to handle your finances that is pleasing to the Lord, and there's a way that is not pleasing to the Lord. If you use your money and you splurge it on things that are not good, and you don't take care of your family, you don't take care of your needs and your family's needs, and that's not pleasing to the Lord. If you idolize your money, it's not pleasing to the Lord. If you put your money above God, it is not pleasing to the Lord. It is called idolatry. And again, so that's why you have to understand the framework. And there's a reason why you do that, because if you lose your money, this is something that you can lose. If you put anything above God, these are all things that you can lose. You get what I'm saying? These are all things that you can lose. And when you lose those things, if you put your faith in your money, if you put your identity in your money, or in your relationships, or in your accomplishments, these are things that you can lose your job and stuff like that. These are things that tomorrow can be taken away from you. You get what I'm saying? But if you put your trust and your faith in God, you know that He's never going to leave you. And you have this faith that, okay, if I walk with God, it doesn't mean that it's going to be a walk in a park, but at least it helps me to be less anxious. That's why the Bible talks about, do not be anxious. Cast your worries on God. There's a reason for that, because anxiety and depression leads to a lot of illnesses. We're not wired to be anxious and to be worried and to be depressed. This is not how God designed us to be. But when we put things above Him, that's what happens, because these are all things that fluctuate. If I put my faith in my emotions, it fluctuates. If I put my faith my faith maybe in my partner, sometimes she's the sweetest girl in the world, but sometimes we disagree. If I put my faith in my money, tomorrow something can happen. It could be taken away from me. If I put my faith in my job, tomorrow I can be jobless. You know what I'm saying? And this again, it leads to worry, it leads to anxiety, and it leads to life that doesn't glorify God. It doesn't mean those things are bad. It means that if you put them above God, you're gonna learn quickly that your life is going to be very, how can I say? You're gonna live a life that is not fulfilling. But if you pursue what God has for you through His framework, through His guidelines, well, you are going to live a life that glorifies God, which is the ultimate fulfillment. If I know that what I'm doing, if I know that what I do glorifies God, there's no better feeling. If I know that, hey, I'm in a relationship with that girl, but I'm not sleeping with her because we're not married, and I'm denying myself because I want to glorify God, this is the ultimate fulfillment, because I know that if I stay in obedience with His will, well, I walk in His will, and then I can kind of reap the blessings of what He has for my life. But if I walk away, or if I'm disobedient willingly, well, of course, it's designed in a way that I'm not gonna have the most fulfilling life. You get what I'm saying? But if my faith is in God, it doesn't matter the amount of money. It doesn't matter anything else. All that matters is that whatever God has in front of me, I walk in obedience with that. And that's the framework. And that's why, as you read your Bible and as you grow in your spiritual life and your walk with Christ, there are some things that you're gonna put aside, not because if you do that you're not a Christian or not, but you understand that with your growth, with your spiritual growth and your wisdom, your growth in wisdom, you understand that these things are not beneficial and these things do not glorify God. And you understand that if you live a life that glorifies God, ultimately, without a doubt, you are going to live a life that is fulfilling for you, if that makes sense, right? And I think that's going to be pretty much it. I can talk to you. I might just finish with this, with the business aspect. A lot of times, if you don't understand, like in business, the framework of you give value first, and then out of the value that you give, you are going to have people that are interested. You don't understand why you do what you do. I've been doing a lot of sales calls lately. Even in the sales calls, there are some framework. There are some questions to ask. But if you don't understand why you ask those questions, you don't understand why people don't buy or why people buy. If you don't understand why you need to give value first, you don't understand why maybe people are not coming to you, or they're not people interested, or you have kind of a struggle. if you live your life in terms of in framework and in guidelines, this is the best way. This is the most optimal way to live your life in all aspects. It could be mentally, physically, financially, in a relationship, in anything. Life is not about rules, it's about framework. Because with framework, even when we talk about faith, there are some framework that God wants us to follow. But again, I have my personality. There are some things that are easier for me than for someone else, and there are things that are easier for other people that are harder for me. But I have my own personality. I have my own preferences. As I walk with God, or as I operate in my relationship, or as I operate in my health and fitness, or as I operate in my business, I incorporate my preferences and my personality into the framework and the guidelines. And now I understand why I do what I do. I understand why it's more beneficial to do this and not to do that. Not because someone told me, but because I understand the framework, and I understand that if I follow the guidelines and the framework, it leads to a certain result, which is the result that I'm looking for and that I'm pursuing, if that makes sense. Right. So I think we're kind of done for this episode. I hope that helped. Please make sure to, subscribe to us on YouTube at Upgrade Talk Podcast. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure to share this with someone that needs to understand the framework and that needs to understand the guidelines and not live his life or her life in terms of rules. Send this to anybody and everybody that needs to listen to this. I'll be uploading way more. It will be a lot of me talking to you guys on the podcast. Sometimes I'll have more people on, but I'll have a bit more of an individual podcast, and I hope you guys like it. I'm sorry, I'm so out of breath. Make sure to follow, make sure to subscribe, make sure to leave it a 5-star. Make sure if you listen to this on YouTube, make sure to leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you next time, again and again and again. I always say it, until next time, get up, get dressed, and go get what's yours. Peace out.